enough, when words are not enough. And we are live on Instagram as well. So I have an amazing, amazing person that we're going to get to know together today. Her name is Erica Curcio, and I want to just talk a little bit about who Erica is. It says that I am Erica Curcio, a licensed mental health counselor and registered art therapist, passionate about bringing joy and meaning to the lives of people experiencing dementia and their families. With a focus on creative expression, I help your loved ones feel confident, in control, and emotionally supported through tailored art therapy sessions. I love that so much. And so we're going to have a conversation with Erica about when words are not enough, what do you do? So I'm going to bring Erica to the stage. Welcome, Erica.
Hello.
Yay. Welcome, Erica. It is a pleasure meeting you. Look, I have found so many amazing people via LinkedIn,
Mhm.
and you are one of them. I really enjoy your posts about just what the work that you do and how you're helping people to enjoy life at a stage where sometimes we expect things to just decline and not be so great in their life and in their families' lives. Tell us about what you do exactly and how you came to find your path.
Yeah, big question.
That's a big question. Yes.
I specifically work with older adults, and then within that, I work with a lot of people that have dementia disorders. So sometimes there are diseases where your dementia disorder is not, you're not an older adult, you're considered like an adult in the time frame of populations of people. But generally, I work with people who are experiencing some kind of dementia disorder or cognitive challenge, maybe if they don't have a diagnosis. And honestly, in my personal life, a lot of people that come to this work will have somebody in their lives that have had Alzheimer's or uh, some related disease. And I didn't have that. I actually
Mm.
just, when I first went to school to get my master's in clinical mental health counseling, I decided to like try working in an assisted living. And in the first couple of days after the training, I went on to the memory support neighborhood and I just fell in love. This is not a
Wow.
population I thought I was going to work with at all.
Wow.
I thought I was going to work with kids, underserved population, and the like. I was thinking like in the Boston schools or something. And I had this whole idea. I was a former cake decorator, and I had this idea that
Wow.
I
That's
could
a big
do,
jump.
yeah, yeah. But I integrated cake into like a lot of the work that I have done over the years.
Hmm.
But essentially, like I wanted to help kids feel good and like this resiliency aspect of there's so many things you can do with cake that are very simple but look
Mm.
really hard. And so I thought, oh, I'm gonna like get like an ice cream truck, but like a cake truck, and like go to these different schools and do cake decorating with children in underserved populations. And and then I just walked onto this memory sport neighborhood and I was like, no, this is where I have to be. I did an internship the next year with kids because I was just, trying to figure out. I was like, no, if I want to have kids, can't do this.
I need
Yeah.
to have a separation here. As a mama,
Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah. Yeah. And so I integrated a little bit of cake, but then I just learned from the people that lived in that community
Mhm.
how words don't have to be spoken, that
Yeah.
words can come through art. And there was this one specific person that I worked with that was a former painter. And having really not much understanding of dementia at the time,
Mhm.
I would like be like, oh, this is so interesting, like how they're talking. And now that I understand it more, I'm like, oh, like that's what they were trying to tell me, with that like educational understanding of like what's going on in the brain. But
Mhm.
really, like this woman and some of the other residents in that community just taught me that words don't have to be the only source of communication. And like on some level, I knew that as an artist myself.
Yeah.
And it was just through their images, like things just came out, whether it was something they could verbally articulate or not.
Mhm.
And that internship just really changed me. It changed my trajectory. And that was in 2012,
Yeah.
2011.
Wow.
And so here I am in
14 years later.
2025.
Yeah. Yeah.
I have my own private practice working specifically with this population. So it's just, I feel like anybody listening, if you're like, I just want to try something new, just try it because you be open to the surprise. It might
Yeah.
change your life.
That's so good. What would you say is the most rewarding memory that you have in the last 14, 15 years of your career?
I think my mind, like in where it's going right now, is just somebody who was in a younger onset Alzheimer's, and they had they just felt so locked in their body.
Mm,
And when they used paint, like when we finally figured out what their supply, like that connection supply for them, when they used the paint, they started talking a little bit.
wow.
And for someone so enclosed in their body to then be able to freely say, like, I feel lost. And to be able to just get that out and then to have a licensed professional in front of them being like, yeah, I hear that. Versus maybe somebody else who wasn't a licensed professional, they'll be like, no, you're not lost. And it's like, no, you really are lost. Like,
Yeah.
let's validate that
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
let's give you that mental health support in that moment.
That's
Everything's
so,
done in the moment.
everything's in the moment. Yeah. Yeah. That's so good. I love that. I want to get to a little bit deeper into what you do, but I'm
Yeah.
just thinking about like the therapists like me, like they will sometimes flirt with and play with art therapy with my clients. Like, how do we support our clients in this way, specifically when they feel trapped in their bodies? And you're saying it's all about being in the moment. How do we begin to kind of take on that lens of supporting them artistically with expressing themselves?
Yeah, I think that there's like a few things with that question. I think just as an art therapist myself, like something that we lead with is it is its own degree, it's its own credentialing, everything, that piece, like just as hard as it is to become an LMHC, it's like that hard to become an art therapist. And so I think one thing that like as art therapists we want the world to know is that it's you're doing art or maybe you're doing art in therapy, but like the language, like to call it art therapy is to like say like I've taken on this credential. So I
Mhm.
think that's something that just
That's a good
would
point.
be helpful as like art therapists if we put that out more in a way that is just like, hey, it's just you're making art with your clients. And that
Mhm.
is fantastic
Yeah.
because I think that art unlocks so many things.
Mhm.
Um, honestly, I think just the phrase of like, well, if you were to draw that, what would that look like? Or
Yeah.
if I gave you this pen or this marker, can you draw that for me? And I
Yeah.
think that for my clients that I've worked with that don't have cognitive challenges, it's like they may think and be like, I wonder what that does. And I just say, just take the judgment out of it. Just see
Mhm.
what happens. Be open to like where your hand goes on the paper. And then after that, is something that we're taught as art therapists is we're not talking about like how beautiful the painting is. We're talking about the aspects of the painting. Can you tell
Mhm.
me more about this? We're not saying like this looks like a tree. Like, do trees have any symbol to your life? Now that might fit in some context, but most of the time we're waiting for the person to process with their own words because it's really easy for someone outside of a drawing. Like you think of anybody, if somebody does a drawing, you're like, oh, that's beautiful. That looks like an apple. I just have an apple here, right? So that
You're
looks like
assigning the
an
meaning.
apple.
Yeah. Yeah.
But what if that's not? What if that's a peach? Or
Yeah.
like what? So like inferring meaning is something we're taught not to do. So I
That's so
think
good.
that's a huge thing is that if you're working with someone, you offer them a pen, like, hey, what does this look like? Can you tell me about your drawing? Can you
That's so
tell me more about this? Just as you would do like verbally,
good.
give them the space to process it versus us as therapists coming in and placing some kind of I don't want to use the word judgment, but placing like a
We're projecting our own thoughts, feelings, experiences, all of
Like,
those things, right?
yeah, yeah. So I think that would be helpful. Do you feel like in your work that like you'd be able to do something like that?
Yes, I was telling you
Yeah.
before we came on, I was telling you about this experience that I had recently. First of all, I used to work for an agency called Alexander Youth Network, and it was with kids that could not function in school. And so
Hmm.
they would get sent to the program, and we would help them to develop skills and all those. And so I would integrate art a lot with those kids. I'm not an art therapist at all. I just knew that it was a way to get people to release feelings and unlock feelings and meanings that make sense to them. And
Right.
so I had a very similar experience to that a couple of months ago. So we had this day called Black Girls Rest. And at Black Girls Rest, they had a tent where we could do art therapy. And so this was my creation, and I keep it right near my I I don't this was so powerful to me. It was so powerful to me, which is why I started looking for someone to kind of break down all of the art therapy things and how it is so powerful to kind of just paint your feelings. And I love what you said about removing the judgment part of it, because sometimes we'll say, well, I'm not an artist. I don't have the skills. I don't know how to draw. I am a stick figure girly. And so, but it's not about the actually like painting a thing. It is about the process, is what I hear you saying. And that was really the most powerful part about it. And with this one, like I use the colors, and the colors mean something to me in each part of this painting. And it was really powerful. So I can only imagine what you do and how we can integrate this in our own treatment, even virtually with clients.
Oh yeah, yeah.
It's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah, and you don't need much. You need a
Yeah.
pen and a piece of paper as a foundation.
Yeah. And we sometimes think that it's not very accessible. So you're saying that we don't need much, just a pen and a paper.
Yeah, and some therapists will use on Zoom, like they have the whiteboard.
Uh-huh.
So they might do like art with their client on the whiteboard or have their client draw, and then they can both see the image that way as well in like a whiteboard kind of setting on Zoom. So
That's
there's so many options. And then some people do digital art therapy where they do apps with people in sessions. So I love collage. Like it's endless what you can do.
that's so good. That's so good. So how have you seen your clients kind of transform through this process of using art?
Everyone is so individualized. But I guess I'm thinking of one person where, so usually when I come in, I ask people to commit to 4 or 5 sessions so that we can
Mhm.
establish some kind of relationship. So that the person feels safe with me to like do the art. And then I'll go from very structured to not so structured to give them that ability to just kind of have a process
Mhm.
and do what they want. And then we try and find that balance. But I think like the foundation of it is the relationship. And sometimes it's harder to create a relationship with someone who has cognitive challenges because they might not remember you.
Yeah.
They might remember your essence,
Yeah.
which is most important. Like this
Yeah.
person feels safe to me. This
Mhm.
person makes me feel good about myself.
Mhm.
Um, so in the beginning, it's like less about exploring really deep feelings and it's just about a relationship. That's always like my goal in my notes. It's like establish a relationship and find the right art supply because when I hit those 2 marks, then the person is just like let's go.
Yeah.
um,
Okay.
yeah.
What about integrating this? One of the posts that you had talks about relationship building.
Mhm.
What about for parents that are trying to develop relationship with their kids? How do we use that and integrate that in our homes?
Yeah. I think going back to our conversation about projection and judgment, I think
Hmm.
that if we as parents, and I'm a parent, um, remove our expectations,
Mm.
that there are actually within art therapy different ages that you're going to see different artistic styles. And so we can't really expect something like I have a 3-year-old. Like, I don't expect my 3-year-old to color in the lines or to actually work in a coloring book. Like, we don't have coloring books, we just have paper, white
Mhm.
paper. And then
Oh, that's good.
uses his markers the way that he wants to use them. And I have markers all over my desk. Like I have, like drawn markers. And I just have to be okay with that. That's just going to be where my child's at right now. I was talking with somebody the other day and we were talking about how a lot of people in their adolescence, maybe like even before then, stopped doing art because someone told them they weren't doing it right.
Yes.
And if you think about it that way, like, I don't want to be that person to tell my child, like, you're not doing it right. So maybe it's not about like having your child do art and you watch and you expect them to do it away. Maybe it's sitting next to them and you're doing it your way and
Mhm.
they're doing it their way, and that's okay.
That's so
Like,
good.
yeah, and I think about my 3-year-old, and when we use paint, we use tempera paint because it's easy
Mhm.
to clean up.
Mhm.
And I know that he's gonna paint his body within, like, 5 minutes, and it's
Mhm.
always like, "Okay, we're gonna paint, and then we're gonna clean up in the shower." And that's just,
Mhm.
like, what we do, and I only do it on the kitchen floor, so I know that it's like, "Okay, I can clean this up," versus
Yeah.
on top of my carpets.
Yeah, I love that. It's so funny that you said that because I have a 5 year. She just turned 5. And I put up some butcher block on the wall, and I wanted, like, the goal was to paint a rainbow, like a pretty, like in my mind, it was supposed to be this pretty, beautiful rainbow. And she mixed all the colors together, and
Yeah.
it was like a brown rainbow. I was like, not quite. And so I had to like really resist the urge to correct and direct and let her lead her own experience. Do you find that sometimes that happens with parents?
Yeah, and, like, I see it, so if I take my son somewhere and they're doing art, I see it. I
Yeah,
see that, like, expectation of, like, "Oh, we're gonna do this or we're gonna do that," but maybe your child isn't cognitively there yet.
yeah,
And I honestly think, like, going back to working with people with dementia, it made me a better mom because I'm
yeah.
understanding what's happening in the brain as the brain's eroding, and it has this level of understanding of like, okay, this is not the same thing at all,
Mhm.
but cognitively, where is my child? He doesn't
Mm,
have the skills of an 8, 9 year old.
mhm.
That so like, and I also don't want him to have those expectations on himself because we like put those expectations and then they're like, well, I'm not doing it right. So I'd rather go do something else. And I
Yeah,
think that transcends into other aspects as well. Are you not kicking the soccer ball right? But do you have the cognitive capacity to kick the soccer ball?
that's
Like,
so
where is
good.
our child at?
That's so good. I love
Yeah.
that. I love that.
And,
And
and like
adjusting your expectations.
you were talking, I just want to pass this tip on. You were talking about the butcher block paper. So we do that too. I'll put like paper on top of it. And something that he enjoys is he just picks a color. And then I don't have one near me, but I'll take the paint, and you can get at the Dollar Tree, the tempera paint,
Mhm.
and I'll swirl it. And I'll say, like, where do you want me to start? And so he has the choice that I start here. And then I swirl it. And then I say, is that enough? And he tells me yes or no. And I go, like, I give him that aspect of control there. And then he just takes the paintbrush and he just smears it everywhere. And then he'll say,
Oh,
"Mommy, I want green." And then so we'll do that over and like with the different colors. And yeah, it does end up looking like mud. You could also control it and just have colors that are very close to each other on the color
yeah,
wheel.
yeah,
And so it can turn out like appealing to you. So you
yeah.
can have that control in the background and be like, I only have yellow, pink, and orange today.
Yeah. But I love that. I love that. It's like so look, when we're talking about words and sometimes they're not enough, sometimes we parents have to sometimes check that within ourselves, is what I hear you saying. And this allows us to kind of just share that space with our kids and say, I trust you, I believe in you, you're powerful, you can make these choices for yourself. And I'm just here along with you in a supportive role. And I think that is without saying it, I think that's what it demonstrates. And
Yeah.
it's beautiful.
Yeah, yeah. I think I had someone over and their child just wanted to make a mess. and then put stickers on top of it and then paint over it and then put stickers. And so for me, I'm like, oh, okay. But like, I know that that's challenging for some people because he's not doing it right.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
A sticker is supposed to go on top to enhance something.
Yeah. Yeah, I
Um,
love that. And we have that same standard with ourselves. I need to be doing it right. And sometimes, and that's one of the beautiful things about art therapy and using art is that there is no right, is what I hear you saying.
yeah, yeah. And so like a way that I tried to diffuse it was I was like, here, mom, you make your own. Like
Mm,
you have your own. That's why I like the side by side art because it's like we have what we want in our minds. So why can't we just do that?
that's so good.
And
Yeah.
they do what they want to do.
That is so good.
You know,
That's so
without
good.
without like over trying to overstep.
Yeah. That's good.
That's not my
Yeah.
place.
Yeah, it's not our place. Yeah. You mentioned that with art, especially, there's a big component to what's happening in the brain. Can you tell us a little bit more about that in regards to what is happening in the brain when we're using art, or just is it, what's happening?
So a lot of things are happening, and I wish I had like more neuroscience, neurology training, but on a level of just understanding about art supplies, it you may experience this where you are frustrated and then you do art and that frustration seems to dissipate.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're actually just calming down your limbic system, your nervous system, the amygdala in the brain. So that's like in the center part of the brain. So your amygdala is calming down because you're moving your energy somewhere else.
That's good.
And so I like to use paints when I'm like in a space of just like, ugh, I need to like get this out of me because of the free flow.
Yeah, that's
I
good.
don't, if I'm like in kind of like an kind of like I need just to like get it out, I am not going to be like cutting something up with a scissor. I,
Yeah.
I just need to like
It's a
flow
different energy. It's a
and get it
different
out.
energy. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So we have something, and the audience, can look it up. It's called the Expressive Therapies Continuum, and it breaks down art supplies and how they fall into like different categories and then like their level of like rigidity to that openness of like paint. And so like based on where you are, one art supply is going to be better for you than another. But then on top of that, there's like personal preference.
Yeah.
So I went to a self-care art therapy continuing ed a couple weeks ago, and I loved how the person who facilitated put this. They said, just like put the feelings down and then worry about it later. Because sometimes I can just be like, well, I want to put it down, and then I want to like enhance it, and I want to keep going. But it's like, no, just like let it out with that paint, and then come back to it later on in the day and sort of like see what's, I forget what she called it, but it was like perfect. And so you just let it out, let that paint out, let it out, marker, whatever. And then later on in the day, you come back to it and you're in a different space. So like, how do you like move with that? And so like, I'll show you what I ended up making. Is this? She called it an art pause.
Wow.
And then another aspect of it was they talked about your wheel of value. So I just
Mhm.
like painted some kind of colors together on a separate piece of paper and then cut that out. And so like these are my values on top of what was happening for me and just different thoughts. So
That's
I keep a journal. Not that you asked about this,
no, this is amazing.
but I
I
just
think
keep
this is amazing because we can do
journal.
these things at home for ourselves. We
Yeah.
think that journaling is just about writing words out, but you can paint, and this is so good.
Yeah, yeah. So like if you want to get like a journal started, you can like this is just like collage. I just cut all of these out from magazines and then some other collage books that I have. Or you can do that dumping of color. So like this one, I dumped the color first and then I put the pieces on top of it. And then I talk about my son's art, like he painted this. And then he
Wow.
chose stickers that he
Wait,
wanted. Where,
he's 3?
yeah,
That's so good.
the painting.
It's so beautiful.
Yeah, well, I think that's also just what colors I had available. So that's
Okay.
where, like, you as the parent can also like have that piece of control. But like he did that, and then I did this next to him. I
That
did
is
what I
so
needed
good.
to do, and he did what he wanted to do. Um, and then yeah, and like he looks at it. I think he knows like he can't do what I do, but it doesn't mean that like one day he won't be able to do that.
Mhm.
Yeah, like there's another one of his. So he used the colors, and then I have a sticker book that I use with a lot of my clients. I don't have it handy. And so he just picks stickers out because he's at the
I
sticker
love that
phase.
so much. I love that so much. So, you just were talking about how there are different art instruments that are better for us at different times. I want to make sure I understand that fully. Are you meaning that, for example, at one moment I might need to use scissors, at another moment might need to use this particular paintbrush? What exactly do you mean by
Yeah,
that?
if you think about the characteristics of different art supplies,
Hmm.
so something like paint is very fluid. So it's going to be on one side. And something like scissors, now you need to have the fine motor skills for scissors.
Hmm.
That's another thing. So if you had talked about like clients before, so if my client doesn't have the fine motor skills for scissors, I'm not going to offer collage to that person. I may have pre-cut collage, but like I'm not going to offer them a skill that their capabilities don't match.
Hmm.
But on the other side of like paint is pencil. And so if this person feels like you mentioned before, your confidence in like drawing, and so you're like, I just draw stick figures. So maybe I wouldn't offer you stick figures because not stick figure. I wouldn't offer you a pencil or a pen because maybe you wouldn't feel your best doing that.
Yeah, like
And maybe
I
that
did.
would
Right.
that would be like a deeper exploration. Like
Yeah.
I don't use like colored pencils. They drive me crazy.
Hmm.
So if I know that, but so I know that, so like I gravitate more to like liquid kind of based things, or like clay, or like something that like I can like have, and not be worried about the process, not be worried about the product.
That is really good. That is
Yeah,
really
but if somebody is like really product oriented, then maybe it's like doing something like collage in a way where it's like the art is already done for them, or you're just looking for an image that represents like how
what
you're.
you're experiencing.
Yeah, like I have some great image cards, and so like I might say, let me just grab it because right here.
It's kind of reminding me of like like a lot of times we're doing these vision boards at the beginning of the year or whenever, and it's kind of
Yeah,
like that. Yeah.
yeah. So I have these image cards which are great, and so sometimes just to
Wow.
check in with a client, I'll say like, where are you at right now? Like choose an image that represents where you're at right now. And then so it could be something surface level, like I had a bagel for breakfast. And then I might dive deeper, like, do you always have bagels? Was it a different bagel? Like, what made you choose like that bagel? Or maybe it's like this, like I'm feeling constricted. And I might say something like, yeah, like it is constricted, but then there's this like looseness here. So like, how can you
Hmm.
loosen your belt?
That's
Just like
good.
using images as metaphors, is what I do in a lot of the work that I do. Like a guitar, like strings.
That's
Does the
really good.
four represent anything for you?
That's really good. So this is the process. So is the process within itself the healing, or is there an end to that? Like, how does the healing part come up?
Um, so I feel like in terms of healing, is to put a lot of pressure on myself, that like I have to heal someone. I also just know realistically the population that I work with, I'm not necessarily going to heal them, and if I do, I wouldn't know that like I had that experience over them, other than like this safety in the relationship.
Yeah.
So I think it's like less about healing and it's more about meeting someone where they are in this very moment.
That's good.
And like I always hesitate with the word healing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't necessarily think that human beings are healed. I think you learn the coping skills to cope and manage
Mm-hmm.
with like whatever that is.
Yeah.
But I don't necessarily think like it heals like there's still like a little bit of a scar there because that makes you who you are.
Yeah.
And
You
scars
just preached a whole sermon, Erica.
yeah.
You preached an entire sermon. And I like that because I think that, you were talking about how regulating the process is, right? And look, our country, our world is going through so much right now that feels like it will never end. And I love what you're saying in regards to this is just creating a space for us to get it all out. Not necessarily to heal, but to get it all out. And in my opinion, it does bring a level of healing
Hmm.
as so talk to because I was going to ask you, how do we integrate art and bring it to the masses to bring about mass healing, which we all need right now?
Yeah, I think openness, people have to have that openness.
Mm-hmm.
um I think that I don't think that necessarily what's happening in the world is ever gonna go away. I think there's
Right.
always two sides to the coin.
Mm-hmm.
But like how can we get like in the middle? How can we see people as people and not as you're a this or you're a that?
Mm-hmm.
I that something came across my Instagram recently called the Enemies Project, and it's two people on the side, like two different sides, and of whatever it is, and they're talking about their sides, and
Mm-hmm.
so and there's a therapist in the middle. I'm like pretty sure, like 99% sure he's a therapist. I hope he is. And so he is like, so did you hear that? Like, what did you hear when they said that? And so it's like this back and forth about two people that have very different views on the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I just went on a tangent a little bit. That's just kind of where my mind went.
Yeah.
But I think maybe if people just like get it out on paper, like having an art journal for me, it sets me off on the right foot every day. If I don't make art, I feel it.
Yeah.
And maybe it's just being in spaces where we can't expect someone to change their mind or their point of view, but that we're open to it. And that is really, really hard, right? You have your opinion. Like I have my opinion. And I'm like,
And you're allowed to have it, right?
how do you see that? I'm just checking. I feel like, sorry, I don't want my computer to die.
Oh no, you're good. As you're doing that, what you just said was amazing because allowing people to have their opinion and using art as a way to just kind of see their perspective without the words is sometimes very powerful as well because we can now, have a space, kind of a common ground, I think. I don't know if I'm missing what you're saying, but I think that's what I'm hearing.
Yeah, I feel like I didn't really answer your question because you're like, how can art like help with this? I don't, yeah, yeah, exactly what you're saying is what I'm thinking is that like we can't change people's minds, but we can be open about listening to their point of view.
Yeah,
I think
that's
you have
so
to
good.
go in with like, I'm not going to change your mind. I just want you to hear me, and then I'm going to listen to you.
Yeah. That's so good. I love that. I really, really love that. And the art, what you were saying when you gave that example of having the two people like coloring or painting or creating their art from their perspective, and then having the therapist in between, kind of that is powerful. That is so
Yeah.
powerful.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that actually. So like the thing that I saw was just two people talking, but like what if you like are given the same prompt about whatever heated topic,
Hmm.
and then you create, and then you talk about your art. And so I'm not telling you you need to you need to like have my point of view, but this is like my point of view, and this is where this like has come
I
from.
love that.
Yeah, yeah, I
And
do too.
because you're not using the words, it doesn't activate you as much.
Mm-hmm.
I love that so much. I love,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
oh my
You
God.
have a good idea. Yeah.
That was really, really good.
Yeah.
Um, so as we come to an end, what's something that you just have on your heart that people need to know or should know about using art to heal or art to create, art to express? Just speak to the people.
Speak to the people.
Yeah.
I think everyone is creative. I think everyone's has their own flair of creativity, of art, being an artist in some way. To create is to put something into the world that wasn't there before. And so every minute that we're living, we're creating.
Mm,
And so how could you say you're not creative?
that's so good.
From like someone who just does like numbers and accounting all day. Like you're creating stuff. You're creating a spreadsheet, you're making it work, the organization, to a scientist who's creating something new that's going to save us all, or just working on something, whatever. To someone who like is a full-fledged artist and creates physical product. Like you don't have to create a physical product to be creative. And I just think a way to like integrate art is to just do it. Start with whatever you have in front of you. If you
Yeah.
have a magazine, cut out a picture that resonates with you every day. And then if you feel so inclined, like write next to it why. If you don't, then don't. I used to really promote working in circles because you have a lot of choices. You can work inside, over, outside. And you can just put something in that circle every day.
I love that. I love that. And I love the idea of what you were just saying about we're all creating in our own way. And that goes to removing the judgment about how it should be done. Like I'm not an artist because I don't create like Erica, right? And so we're kind of judging our creativity when really if you're creating with numbers, you're being just as powerful and all the things as Erica is, or as, whatever artist, right? And so I love that idea of just allowing yourself to flow with your own gifts
Yeah. And like even
and letting
behind
that be
you, how
enough.
everything is organized. It's beautiful. You created that.
It brings me a lot of joy. I mean,
Yeah.
it brings this, looking at this brings me a lots and lots of joy for what the colors and everything. It really, really is good. Which
Yeah.
kind of lends itself to another question I have in regards to creating spaces for yourself within your home environment that are kind of helping you to ground and be where you need to be emotionally, mentally. What are your thoughts about that as we wrap up?
Yeah, so I'm just thinking, like before we started, I was trying to figure out where to put myself
Yes,
because
yes,
so I have, for people watching, I have windows here, and I love the natural light, but it doesn't work well for things like this.
yeah.
But for me, I'm easily distracted.
Mm-hmm.
So I used to have my desk facing out, but that's not good for me because I can't concentrate and focus. So I have a wall in front of me, but the light, I still get to enjoy it from the back.
Mm-hmm.
And so like having a space that gives you light and
Mm-hmm.
that energy from the sun, or even just like the lamps that you have around you, I think that's really important. And then for me, a clear space. If I have a hard time getting started in the morning, maybe the night before, I just set the space up so that I just arrive. A lot of times with caregivers, I say, give my client with dementia a clear space and then set it up like you would set up dinner.
Mm-hmm.
Like give them something that's already there
That's
so
good.
that they can like enjoy in that experience of the meal, and the meal being the art.
That's good. I have enjoyed this conversation.
Thank you.
You have motivated me. I was kind of already there, but God, even the more to tap into or to lean into my creative side without judgment that I'm not doing it right. Like
Yeah.
this is really like it helped me, Erica. This
Yeah, I would
conversation.
say with your artwork that you have, it would be interesting to, if you just went through a magazine and just clipped out words that stood out to you, not thinking about
Mm.
that piece of art, but just words that are standing out to you,
Mhm.
and then collaging that on top of that and seeing like how that plays into kind of verbalizing what's going on in that picture.
That's so good.
Yeah.
Maybe I need an art therapist or something.
Yeah,
A
yeah.
few
Or like people might
sessions.
the
We
other
all do, I sound like.
I could keep going. One more thing is,
Yes.
so as an art therapist, we're taught to like talk to our artwork. So if you could do it a few different ways, you could like write a letter to your art, or you could try to embody your art and write a letter to you about what they're trying to tell you. Or you could do like a dialogue where like you ask your art a question, and then on the next line, your art answers. And then you just have this conversation going. And again, you have to remove that judgment for that piece, that healing piece. You have to remove judgment and be open to
For the
receive.
process. Yeah, the process.
Yeah.
I love this so much. Where do we find you? What are your offerings? I know that you are in Massachusetts, you said.
Yeah.
Are you international? Do you do virtual sessions? Like, tell us all about how we can connect with you offline.
Yeah, sure. So right now, in terms of social media, I'm really just on LinkedIn. So if you look up my name, Erica Curcio, I have other social outlets, but I don't use them. If you want to find me directly, find me on LinkedIn. You can also go to my website, Art Therapists, it's plural, at home.com. And I am just north of Boston. So I see people in their homes north of Boston living with dementia. I also offer consultations for caregivers
Oh, really?
virtually. Yeah.
You need to add a therapist too, Erica, because this was amazing.
Yeah, yeah.
This is really, really, really powerful. So I will probably be listening to this again just to grab some of the nuggets that you dropped for us.
Yeah, I so appreciate you reaching out and
Yeah,
connecting, and let's stay in touch.
absolutely, absolutely. All right. Thank you again, Erica. I hope you guys enjoy your day. I will see you next time.